Yeah, the first one I recall, and I always have this type of dream. It's always set in a cave, and I can feel the moisture in the air, the coldness, and I can also smell moss. And that's the first time I can recall that specifically because I will never forget that dream. And I'm inside a cave, and it looks like a cave. There's a door, and the door has your typical tight window with the bars on it. And I'm on my own, but I can't see my physical body. I just feel as if it's just my mind. And there's this man that comes to the door, and he says, "I'm getting you out," and he gets me out. And I keep turning back around because there's other doors, and I keep saying, "Oh, I've got to get the other people," but I don't really know what other people there are. And he says there's not enough time, and he keeps dragging me out, but I keep trying to get back for some reason. And I don't know what's chasing us. We can't see it. Well, I can't see it. Um, but we eventually get out of this cave area where there's all these doors, and then we're climbing through all these rocks, and we can see a crevice up the top, so we're on a slant, and we're trying to crawl out, and the rocks are falling beneath us, and I can actually feel the rocks underneath me, but it doesn't hurt. You can just feel that there's something there. So
Wow.
what would probably feel like, and I've landed on rocks, what would feel like rocks, it's not that. It's you feel that there's some sort of texture there. And so eventually we get through the crevice, and then there's just light, and there's people walking around in fancy outfits, just walking around, and we are in rags. Like, I don't know if I'm in rags, but I can tell he's in rags, and people are just walking past us like we don't exist.
Hey, yo, welcome to the Godcast.
The Lord told me to tell you, wake up, wake up, wake up.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled.
You want answers.
I want the truth.
Was there an awakening moment?
So this is like an all-encompassing awakening.
It's all-encompassing.
Every day, as they would creep in, I would just have to stop and catch myself right in those moments and say, God, I trust you. I'm not going to be afraid. I'm giving you my fear.
And I also came to the understanding what you're saying, what you can't have light without dark. But then I started having the thought of, well, if we didn't have nighttime and we didn't have the winter, then plants would never stop growing. So if we never had issues, then we would only grow more. The thing with me, I never got into the astrology stuff. I never got into really doing any kind of energy work until I was very firm with Jesus. And it's a thing with me and Jesus where like people are praying and I'll get the sudden urge to tell that person to give your burdens to Jesus, and they'll say like, oh, I was just trying to talk to Jesus.
Welcome to Godcast,
the Goodness Over Darkness podcast.
Here's your host, Emmanuel Kingman.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Godcast, the Goodness Over Darkness podcast. I am your host, Emmanuel Kingman, and here with me is the dreamer, Mimi.
Hello.
Hello, my love. How are you?
I was waiting for like intro music. I don't know why.
No.
I was like, oh yeah, we don't do that anymore.
I'll just add that on.
Yeah.
In production, because when I did it, the last time I did it, I forgot that I was doing an intro, and I was just watching the video, and then I was caught off guard. So I was like, okay.
And this time I was like being quiet, waiting for my turn.
Yeah.
But no music. Anyway, hello.
So on today's episode, we had on special guest Esther Claire, and she has some fantastic dreams that she had, and this one is a doozy for you. And not just that, but we talk about Australia for about the first half hour and what's going on over there and how life is, and then we get into the wild dreams. Yeah, things are rough, very rough, especially where she lives in Western Australia, WA, as she refers to it.
I feel very bad.
Yeah, very tough over there. That they have a lot of, I mean, people, because so many people just kind of gave in, that it didn't give a chance really to the others who wanted to stand up and stood as long as they could. It's everyone kind of just had to in order to still live, because they I mean, they can't really do anything. They have a trucker convoy right now, and the supermarket shelves are empty. She said
I
that
think
they're not struggling for food necessarily, but that it's very hard to come by certain items.
Yeah.
And between that and the mandates and just in general, everything that's going on over there, it's very, very wild.
When she said they had a 98% compliance rate, man. Mm. And then when she mentioned that the majority of Australian ancestors were convicts,
Yeah.
those two things together just make me think whatever program they used for Australia, man, they used it.
It's been running for a
It's been
while.
running for a long time. There's a lot of things I feel are hidden from the Australian people. Uh, and it's completely different than here in the US where, people can't really hold secrets. So even if you are high up holding a secret, you're telling somebody who's telling somebody who's telling everybody. So, but it's very different over there. I feel like they hold their news and their numbers and their plans. They hold them tight and they don't let them leak. That's for sure. That's what I got from all of the conversation we had. Is
Yeah.
that the people don't really know much.
Well, it must be very common, a very common thing over there to know that they're the ancestors of convicts who were sent to this internment camp that they placed in Australia, because she
Yeah,
was
like
like,
are
"Oh,
they
you guys don't
guilted
know
into
about that?"
compliance, you think?
What?
Are they guilted into compliance just like a natural guilt, you
No,
think?
I think
No?
it's psyops running on them. But
That's what I
what I'm
mean.
saying with her is that it's so common to her that she thought that we would have known that, and I didn't know
Mm-mm.
that
I didn't
at
know
all.
that at
That
all.
Australia, all the white people that are there, they were the Europeans who were sent there as an internment camp. They were
Mhm.
convicts that were sent to an island. I
Brought
mean,
over
that's
from
crazy.
Britain.
And Ireland, she said as well, and
Mhm.
Scotland. I mean, that is really wild stuff that the UK took their citizens and sent them to an island.
It's not that strange. I mean, look.
It's like movie type
It's
stuff.
where we have our jails on islands and things, They're
No,
just not so big.
not any.
Yeah.
There's
I always dreamed as a teenager.
Australia is
I
a
always
foreign land.
wanted to go to Australia.
Like,
Now
how
I'm like,
far is that from the UK? It's like 12 or probably like 8 hours from the UK.
yeah, it's far.
I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
For real, that's crazy. And yeah, like you said, I think that they've just been running psyops,
For so long.
yeah, for so long. And the children of the ruling class are the Nazis. They're the children of Nazis, and they've just been running a big prison the entire time. That's what it really comes down to. That they're trying to now just expand that prison, and that's kind of why things are happening first in Australia, and then it happens everywhere else. It's like, oh, they're already prepared for this. They've been preparing for this for a very long time.
Yeah.
Just crazy stuff.
I've always wanted to go to Australia, and now I'm like, no thanks.
Yeah.
No thanks.
Yeah. I've
Koalas and things like that.
the land down under.
Boy, did I not know anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm sure it's a beautiful place and it's fascinating and everything, but not with all these people who are running the place.
They're carrying papers. They can't go anywhere. I mean, they're like a few steps ahead of everyone else. I feel like with their not being able to go certain places, not being able to do certain things, with their pretty much forced double vaccinations, all of it. They're ahead of us, and I don't ever want to get to that point.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people here don't want to get to that point, and a lot of people here have stood up, and that's why we're not at that point. So I'm grateful for that here, but I hope that something happens there that can put a stop and
Yeah. To
to
stop the
what's going
Nazis.
on.
And it's so funny how the people who are, you guys should listen to her episode that she does by herself. It's only a 30-minute episode, but she plays a clip in there where there's a guy going around this protest. People are protesting the people who won't get vaccinated, and they're calling those people Nazis, the people who won't get vaccinated. Like they're trying to force them into it, and they're just so lost in their own delusions that they're calling the people who don't want to be forced into something Nazis. And they're white supremacists is what they're saying. It's just like, wow, you can see the brainwashing, how strong it really is. I mean, it's crazy. But that was the first half of the interview. The second half, or not even more than the second half, it was like 2/3 of the interview was about her wild dreams. And man, is she powerful in her dreams, feeling
These dreams are
textures.
awesome.
Yeah, feeling textures when she walks on rocks or has a shark pin fall on her, and she feels it on her human body, feels it on her chest. I mean, her grandmother visited her the night that her grandmother passed away. Just a lot of different things happen in her dreams where, I mean, and now she meditates for 6 hours in a day at different times because of all the different experiences that she has. I mean, it's wild. So I think you guys will really enjoy that. And do we have anything else for the intro?
That's all from me.
All right. So make sure you go check out her podcast, the 963 Universal Frequency. You can catch me on there in a few days as well. That she interviewed me and we had a nice discussion. She's a newer podcast, and I think that anybody who is into dream scenarios, interviewing people about their dreams or something like that, you should bring her on, or any dream interpreters, contact her. She's looking to hear from somebody who
You'll
can
love
help her.
these.
Yeah.
If you're
She
a
has so many
dream
more than what
interpreter,
she talked about in here. So
catch the 4 or 5 that she talked about in this episode, and they're very detailed.
yeah, and yeah, bring her on as a guest and hear what she has to say. It's very fascinating. All right, so I think that'll do it. Make sure you go to my website, emmanuelkingman.com, and go subscribe to the YouTube channel, Goodness Over Darkness. Like, share, comment, rate and review on Apple and Spotify. Share this around directly to different people who you may think it'll help. And also, you can donate. There's a donate tab on my website, as well as my PayPal account I'll start including the PayPal account in my in the description here, because I put it in the worst possible spot. I put it in the store, and nobody ever goes to the store spot. So I'll put it somewhere where people can actually find it. And I want to thank all of the people who have been donating. It's quite humbling to receive donations. And I love helping people, and to have other people help me in this generous way, it really warms my heart. So thank you all for sending your love and donations. So after the bridge will be the interview. And without further ado, here is Esther Claire.
Welcome to the Godcast. Cross up on my back, I'm slaying demons. It don't matter what you call that. Searching for the truth, facts are facts until they fall flat. It's looking like a story, man, it's all cap. But it's goodness over darkness, it ain't all bad. I'm at my maker, but I was called back. Emmanuel, show my people they're under a spell. Heaven or hell is free will. I made my choice and now it's well with my soul. I pray the same for you as well. Welcome to the Godcast. Welcome to the Godcast.
Hello, everybody. On today's episode, I have on a woman who was born to travel far and wide. She has explored many different countries, continents, astral realms, and not of this world areas. She is host of the 963 Universal Frequency podcast. Everyone, welcome Esther Claire to the show. Welcome to the show, Esther. How are you, my friend?
I'm very well. Thank you for having me, Todd and Mimi.
Yeah, thank you
Thank
for
you.
being here. I was a guest on your podcast and we connected, and it was a great conversation that we had. And I was like, I got to get you on the podcast. We started talking about some things, and you were acting as if you didn't have any experiences, and then you tell me so many different things off air. I was like, wow, we got to talk about all this.
Well, that was part of the reason why I started the podcast, because I didn't feel as if I was that interesting, and I wanted to meet, and I have been meeting interesting people all over the world. So yeah, now I like I said, I don't know if I'm gonna make you lose any listeners. I hope I don't. I hope
You're not
or
going to
maybe
make us
my
lose listeners. No,
no,
the
this is
listeners
fun.
of the listeners of my podcast are very loyal, not loyal to me necessarily, but they like what we bring to the table. My guests are always here to have a good time, to reveal some things about themselves to help resonate with other people. So that's kind of what my show was really based on, was giving my perspective on things, of my experiences, and then other people hear it and they resonate with it and they come to my show, and then they tend to stay because they like listening to Mimi and I, but they love our guests. So I am very much in favor of bringing on people who I think can help others, and I think you have that ability as well.
Oh, thank you. Oh, now I feel honored. I hope I impress people out there for you.
Yeah, well, I think you will. So, do you want to tell us a little bit of your background of how you got to be into podcasting and knowing the spirituality, the conspiracy stuff? Do you want to give us a brief overhaul or overview, I mean, of how you got to be where you are?
Oh, where do I start? So much to uncover here. I guess with the podcast, my time being locked up in WA, as you may be aware, I think that was the moment, the trigger point of when I decided, yeah, I'm going to start a podcast and communicate with people. And
So, do you want to tell our
the intention
guests?
was,
I'm sorry. I mean, do
yes,
you want to tell our audience what WA is?
WA, Western Australia. So we're the largest state in Australia. And at the moment, we're the only state that hasn't opened their borders, but we are the most obedient state, from what I understand, in the world that has followed the rules and double vaccinated. So it was announced by our Premier, Mark McGowan. This would have been 2 days ago. I think he announced it on Friday, the 11th, that we are the most vaccinated. So over 12-year-olds, I think we're something like for two doses is 98%. Wow. And then for our booster shot is around 49%.
Do you feel like those numbers are accurate?
Yeah.
Or do you feel like there's some messing with the numbers there?
You don't know what's true and what's not. West Australian people are lovely people. I'm not just saying that because I'm here. I reside here. We are very obedient. We're very kind. We're kind people, and I think that has been used against us. And it's unfortunate because we seem to have a percentage of people, it's very small, I would say maybe around 10%, that are wide awake. And when I say wide awake, they know everything. They know every conspiracy. And then there's another percentage, which is around maybe 20%. These are the people that are waking up. And then there's this majority, which is about 50%, that know what's going on, know that their freedom's been taken away from them, but are very happy to go with it.
Wow.
They're happy to continue working for their children. They feel they have no choice. It's part of life. We'll keep, we won't be able to travel, won't be able to go to nightclubs and all that type of stuff. And so they're happy to give it up. So there's still that large percentage that actually know, but they feel they have no other choice. Whether or not that's indoctrination, I mean, I guess we could say that. But when people know that their freedoms have been taken and they're still not willing to fight back, and I'm not talking about being violent, but maybe quitting their jobs and maybe not traveling, giving up those luxuries for the population that know that their freedoms have been taken away from them. Yeah, you kind of wonder, okay, well, what's going on? And then there's obviously that other percentage, I guess the 10%. I'm really bad with maths, so I don't know where I went with that, but that are just the fluoride stare. They have no idea what we're talking about at all. And
so are there protests going on in your state?
Yes, there are. There's usually one once a month. I went to the last one, and it was amazing. Like nobody wears their mask. I think I saw maybe a group of police officers, and it's great seeing all these people come together and with everyone with their signs and just being really nice to one another and consulting one another, because some people have had adverse effects, some people, well, a lot of those people have actually lost their jobs and they're struggling. So yeah, it's a weird one. I kind of contradict myself because I like going to those events, yet it's kind of sad as well at the same time. But I love the fact that people are still banding together and trying to fight.
Yeah, well, it sounds like it sounds very tough. It sounds like a tough position to be in, because while most of the people are just willing to go along with her, like, this is what we do now. This is what they tell us, and this is what we do. It must be a very tough position to be in Australia, more so than I think America, because everyone's just willing to go along with it, because that's just for them. It makes sense to do it because, the majority of people want me to do this, so I'll just do this. It's like they don't have a sense of self, almost, that they are they're just supposed to do it, so they feel compelled, and they do it. It's very strange. But how do you feel about the trucker convoy that's going on in Canada? Is there anything like that happening in Australia?
Yeah, so Canberra, which isn't in WA. So that's what's really kicked off and is making a huge impact. And I'm not there. I just see what I see in Telegram. I love Telegram, by the way. It's awesome. But yeah, that's all I really see. I just see the protests coming together, the truckers going on strike. For us in WA, we actually had one of our railway lines. It was flooded and it's being repaired. So it's not being, it's been out of use for some time now, but I think it will be finished in repairs on the 15th. So because we've got no truckers coming in to deliver to our state, our shopping centres are bare. So we're still going through that, not having our shelves full to the rim. We've got a lot of people that are buying too much. I went to 3 different stores the other day to get toilet paper, because toilet paper seems to be the number one that people seem to take. And I got a little frustrated at it because I don't need much. I've always been that type of person. I only buy what I need. And I there was a guy that was near me, and he said, because I just shook my head and walked away, he said, "It's those damn doomsday preppers." And I didn't have a go at him, but I was irritated. And I said, no, it's not the doomsday preppers because they're prepared for a day like this. It's all the other people that are just
Yeah,
crazy
they're
and panicked
pre-prepared.
that don't. Right. Yeah. So yeah, it's been frustrating in that sense. I mean, we're not starving, but we can't get the items that we would like to get, and it's really hard when you're vegan too, because you're not getting particular stock in. So yeah, I'm having to make do with things, but that's yeah.
Wow, that sounds
what's
really
happening.
tough. How many months has this been going on in Australia with the trucker convoy?
Um, Pretty much since Canada.
Okay, I
That
thought it
started.
started earlier.
Uh, I'm not too sure about other states, but I'm going off when the food supply started getting the shortage of the stocks in the shopping centres went down. So
Yeah.
that was a couple months ago.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
why I feel that it's what's going on in Canada isn't a grassroots movement. I feel that it's a psyop that people are just getting sucked into because they feel like they're standing up for freedom, and not that they aren't. I mean, they're taking a stand, but I feel that they're hurting the common citizen more so than they're hurting the big bankers and the people they're trying to influence. They're not influencing them at all. It's the carrot on the stick, and they're just leading them down this path like, okay, yeah, you guys want to hurt everyone else, take away their food supply? Come on, come feel like you're doing something. But it's all been planned from the beginning for a long time. I mean, almost $10 million got donated through GoFundMe, and GoFundMe just said, you're not going to get that money, and you're not going to get your money back, so we'll just keep it or distribute it wherever we feel necessary. I mean, they're just stealing money from the people because they're leading people with a carrot on the stick, and it's so horrible what they're doing. And I mean, I want everyone to have freedom. Of course, we have to have freedom, and how we go about that, I don't know, but I see what's happening, and I see it's not a good thing for the common everyday people that need food. I mean, we just need to be able to have food, and it is those who are on the top are forcing these mandates and making people stand up in this way. So then our shelves are empty, and they're making us fight a class war, and it's just really a very tough position right now. And I feel for everybody in Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Austria that are all these lockdowns. I mean, this is just a really crazy time. Now, someone who's vegan, that's very interesting. Do you have a garden in your house? Are you able to garden like in your area?
No, no, no. So if I get anything organic, we have an organic store not far from us, or I go to the farmers markets. So, and that seems to be where it's thriving. I think a lot of people are turning to
Local
the
sources.
which is not a bad thing. It's actually good. So, yeah, we're not to the point, like I had said, starving. You just can't get those items, those luxury items that you would normally be able to get in our stores. So, yeah.
Oh, well, that's good that at least your food isn't too scarce and you're able to get it from different places. So, well, do you want to reveal, are you boosted and vaccinated? You don't have to, because we don't want you to get in trouble where you live, because it's a mandate over there, right?
But a mandate is not a law.
It is.
That's true.
That's right. And yeah, so as you probably are well aware, because I'm sure that this happened in America as well, they've put it onto the businesses, onto the workforce to encourage it. Well, not to encourage it, but to mandate it. And so the majority of our workforce has to be double vaccinated. You do have people that are leaving their jobs, and it is a small percentage, but you can't go anywhere here unless you're double vaxxed. You have to show your certificate wherever you go. So yeah, it's a lot of people are just getting it regardless of whether or not they agree with it, and there's probably going to be a lot of people that probably irritated at that, but people have to do what they've got to do to survive at the same time. There's just so many different views and perspectives about that, which
it seems like you're
it's
so
all hard.
outnumbered.
Very outnumbered, yeah.
I wouldn't say it irritates me. I would say it saddens me. It really saddens me.
That people are forcing things onto people.
Yeah, and here they're starting to coerce you with bonus money and free donuts and free whatever. Yeah, it's like $500 bonus if you get vaccinated, or a dozen free donuts, or some pizza, and people are eating it up. And it's so sad that it has to,
I think
they don't have free will.
I don't obviously eat meat, but at Bunnings, I don't know if you guys have a Bunnings. It's like a hardware store where you get gardening and everything yeah, it's very, very big here in Australia. They had sausage sizzles. So basically get a free hot dog and get a vaccine, and they actually set up a vaccine booth. And one time I was going past there and I just see this line of people eating these hot dogs.
I really want a hot dog.
Yeah, and you could hear the announcements through the aisles about getting your vaccine, and yeah. Anyway.
In Australia, are they pushing vaccinations for 5 and older at this time?
Yeah. And parents are choosing to do it. Schools now, I believe. I'm not too sure. I don't have children. Just my friends have mentioned things, and so, or my sister as well. And yeah, they're pushing the kids to be vaccinated if they want to be in class. So eventually everyone will be. I mean, we're at 98%. So the intention is to get everybody vaccinated.
Yeah. Do the schools have a virtual option at this time? Because I know here we did a little bit of virtual schooling where you could stay at home and do it through the computer.
I think there is, but a lot of people financially can't stay at home with their kids.
Gotcha.
And so they're sending them back to school. I think there are people, like when I've gone to protests, people have said, I'm homeschooling my kids, but they're in a position where they can do that. So, but yeah, majority of people can't.
Yeah, so that's been set up for such a long time to make it so that people can't be at home with the kids.
It's so hard.
So I mean, it's been set up for such a long time, and where we are now. The interesting thing is that I think nothing can happen outside of God's will, and that those who are in a position, that whatever position you choose, I don't think you can really go wrong. I think that everyone has a different route to take here, that we're all going to end up in the same place eventually. So there is an interesting aspect to it, but one thing that comes into my awareness today is something about 50 million doses were giving false positives for HIV, so they canceled it. Scott Morrison just came out and was talking about it. I mean, false positives for HIV, and I see all over my Twitter, people are talking about getting tested for HIV after being vaccinated. It's a very strange thing, but now they're throwing the possibility, that it's a false positive, but some people may actually have it. I mean, that may be part of the psyop to think that, it's just a false positive, or now it's also a psyop that makes you think that you have it. They just really convolute everything, and it's nonlinear warfare. They put all of the information out there, the possibility of this and that and that and that, so people argue about it all instead of just removing, however that is. I don't condone violence, but somehow getting these people not to be ruling over us any longer. I mean, this is it's gone on too long. Our ancestors, for whatever reason, they agreed to things that weren't good for us, and it kept putting us in worse and worse positions. Like, the way that I see what's happening now is like there's this line that was going, like a straight line going, and we're like way over here, because every time it just keeps going, like we're veering off course, and it makes it easier and easier to accept what's happening because of bad decisions that happened a long time ago. Now, I'm not blaming our ancestors for all of it. Obviously, we've always had our own choices and stopping everything, but I just think that there's been a lot of bad decisions, and bad decisions follow bad decisions. And for myself, it led to prison and so on and so forth. But we always have the ability to overcome things.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. Now, getting back to you, I know we went off on Australia there for a little bit, which is
I
very
had a quick
fascinating
question.
for us. Go ahead. You got a
I
question?
had a quick question. Do you know any of the quote unquote 2%ers that may be rebelling and holding out at this time to get vaccinated?
I'm gonna say no.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You,
I was
when I
just
go to
wondering.
protests, I hear. No, it's okay. When I go to protests, I hear of people, and that's here. It's such a weird time. It's
Yeah.
just
Well,
so
it
weird.
just
You
shows how true
never
your
know.
98% number is. If you don't know anybody around you that's rebelling, quote unquote, then that just really shows how true those numbers probably are.
Yeah. When you go to those protests, a lot of people there are vaccinated, but they're trying to band together. So
Right.
I haven't actually met anybody that isn't.
Hmm.
I'm sure that there are, but yeah,
Sure.
there's.
Well, it's promising that people are banding together to stop the mandates, because I've seen it here in America where people were vaccinated and unvaccinated coming together, and they were ripping up their passports and saying, we're not, even though we're vaccinated and boosted and have our passports, we're not supporting mandates. And it was very nice to see that coming together. I did have one more question about Australia that I just thought of. Do you have any internment camps near you, or are you aware of? I just saw that they are somewhere in Australia, and that you have to actually
Yeah,
pay your own way for 2 weeks to have to stay there. It's a very strange thing. Are you familiar with these?
yeah. So here in WA, I know that they're over east. I I was told that there is one here in WA, but it's not actually being used. I don't know how true that is. I've tried to find it. I haven't been able to locate it. Um, when the premier announced that there was, I think he said something over 400, I think it was 498 people infected, and we've had 51 local cases. I just kind of questioned it. Well, where are the other people? Are they in hospital, or are they in these camps? That hasn't been public knowledge to the people of WA. And the person that I had met that told me about them said, yeah, they're located out in this rural area of WA, and I don't know how true that is here in
Wow,
our state,
that's
but it's definitely
scary.
in other states.
Yeah, that's
It
that's
is scary. That's
yeah.
all.
And in
It
America,
yeah, it's
we have this job hunting website or app called Indeed.com, and I saw that they were hiring internment specialists, former military or law enforcement officers who were looking for a job as an internment specialist, which sounds like they're going to be running these camps. And I think it was Massachusetts and New Jersey is what I actually laid my eyes on. So this is, I mean, they're gearing up for it here as well as other places. I think Australia, for whatever reason, they have the stronghold over the people over there, and it's kind of like what's happening to you guys is like an experiment to see how things will go, to see if they can then do it to New Zealand and Austria, Canada, and then America. That Five Eyes system. I think
yeah.
that's really how it's going.
Oh, absolutely. It's definitely a strategy. Every time I hear Scott Morrison or any of the premiers talk, it's just raving about how good we are and how proud we should be. Proud is probably one of the worst virtues that there is. Yet we're all meant to be proud Australians. It's, if anyone can't see that how crazy that sounds, yeah, I feel sorry for
Ego.
them. But well, yeah, right. Yeah, it's just so wrong. But yeah, it's definitely that ego that, you know, we're the best and everybody should follow us. We're setting an example. And I think our premier is doing that for our own country as well. That's why he's pushed so hard for us to reach to that 98% because, and that's possibly why we might not have these concentration camps, I'm going to call them, here in WA, because the intention is, well, I just want everybody vaccinated, and that's the target. And if everybody's vaccinated, we won't need to get these types of facilities where we have to keep the unvaccinated, because that's what he's doing. It's that segregation of unvaccinated and vaccinated people. It's all, yeah. We had one case, a 70-year-old man that passed away from Omicron, and he announced it as if, you know, don't be alarmed, but we've had one case of an elderly man dying from Omicron, and he was unvaccinated.
Oh, wow.
So it's just spreading to the people. Like one case, like it's a case. Like I feel sorry for the family and everyone, but it's just one case. I think we've only had one other case in January of someone passing away. It's nothing in comparison to other countries.
The flu has been killing people forever.
From what I
Yeah. So, you know, they never announced those. It's very strange.
That was going to be my next question. Was going to be, has there been any talk of side effects happening yet? Since you guys are the most vaccinated, I would assume that you've been vaccinated the longest. So is there talk of side effects happening to people, weird side effects that they might not be contributing to the vaccine, but just happening?
A lot of people are experiencing effects after the second, and it will be from headaches, loss of taste,
That's a big
lots
one.
of fatigue, being tired, and there's obviously people who I know of. I don't know anyone specifically that has said that they're experiencing issues with liver, or they've had a heart attack, things like that. And so it's, again, part of the tactic. You just don't know to what degree. Is this person already ill, which isn't the same. Like when I say that as well, that the people that are having adverse effects are people that already have a condition. So they might be obese, or they might have already heart issues. And so it's just, I guess, the jab is possibly helping them get sick quicker. So, I think that is happening, but I don't know anyone specifically. It's always someone through a friend.
Yeah. It sounds to me that your government is very good at keeping secrets.
Oh, they're the best.
It sounds like.
They've done a really
Yeah. Not in America. We'll be talking.
And I don't know if it is because we're so isolated. We're so far away from everyone else, and we're easier to control. I mean, you've heard the story. We all come from, our ancestors were convicts. Majority of our ancestors were convicts, so we've got that in us already.
I've never heard that.
I haven't either.
No, so that's how our ancestors, they were brought over from Britain, and it was basically a big camp here in Australia where they sent all the convicts. So that's why we have a lot of Irish, Scottish descendants. They're
kind of,
and so I think that had some understanding of how to control and discipline people.
Wow, that is
that makes a lot of sense now to me.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense that they've had a lot of practice in compliance, getting people to comply for a very long time. So that makes sense to me now.
Yeah, they've been training their parents and their grandparents to be compliant. That's That's wild. I was
Mm.
wondering how there's so many white people in Australia. When you think of Australia, you think of a white person, but it's actually the Aboriginal people are still there in a very large portion, right?
Yeah, so there is still quite a few. Well, there's a lot of communities. Most of the communities that I know of are based up north, so in the Kimberley region, Pilbara region, and and even the government. There was a comment that was made about the Indigenous people having these bizarre conspiracy theories, which just I found to be an insult
I heard your
to the
episode on that.
Indigenous. Yeah, no, it's they have this, the dream world and these traditions that have, ancient traditions that they believe in, and they've completely tried to make them look like these people that are just weird conspiracy theorists that just need to get the jab, but they have these ideas, and it's really quite sad. So,
Do they get
that
religious exemption?
That's what I was gonna say is, are they fighting hard not to get the jab?
No. Mm.
no, they actually go out to the communities and round them up
Wow.
on the jab. There's definitely groups that are fighting against it and are refusing. The majority are
Wow.
being forced to do it.
It sounds like your leaders are all like the children of the Nazis. Honestly, I mean, it's just crazy.
Well, there's Marxism everywhere here. It's been happening for quite some time, and yeah, yeah, it's hard too because I often think, and I don't like to look at the past, but in this case, I'm going to. Is just if what everybody knew what they knew now, and just quit their jobs and said, I'm going to quit our jobs, don't care about getting the jab, and gave up everything, the government would have had to give in,
Mhm.
but people chose not to because they were worried about, because the government has really put out there that our economy is the most important thing. That's all they ever talk about. It's all about the economy and making money. And people still have that in their minds that to live a great life, you need to have money,
We also have to have
which
people.
is yeah. I don't know what you'll think about this, but the whole idea of uh, killing off people. So, is that
Genocides.
something
Mhm.
that's going on? People think that it's
Depopulation.
population. I don't really know how I feel about that because that we are the most populated society. So if we're gone, Australia, how are they going to make their money? That's just kind of something that's just thrown me off a little bit.
Yeah,
So
I
I way to control people, but I don't. I think they've decided, look, we might lose some people's lives. That's a risk we'll take, and those people that will die, well, we won't. Doesn't really matter, just as long as we get the majority of the people to obey.
Yeah,
And
I totally agree. Because when we talk about the depopulation agenda, I look at 100 years ago, there was 1 billion people on Earth, and now there's almost 8 billion people. So where's the depopulation? I mean, it's just exponential growth. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, I know there's a lot of fear mongering pushing the conspiracy theory community, and they use the Georgia Guidestones. But I went there and I read it, and people just get this idea that that's all that is about, but it's actually when you're there, the geographical area, it's a high land on top of hills because they know a cataclysm is coming, and they're saying this is good rules to start a new society by if a cataclysm wipes out people. They're not saying that we have to wipe out that many
Right.
people. There's been exponential growth, and of course, they are trying to get people to uh, have abortions and so on and so forth. And they don't really care to save lives, but they're not actively trying to take out 7 billion people. It's just not happening. So the depopulation program or agenda, I think that is just fake news. I think that's just an infiltration of the conspiracy theory community in order to push fear, to get everybody scared and buy more things so that you can be protected. How many conspiracy theory podcasts sell kits like, oh, get 10% off of your
Doomsday
final
kit.
destination kit. Yeah, like it's all fear stuff that's being pushed.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't know what to make of
I do
getting
think
people, yeah.
that the deaths and the depopulation, so to speak, is a somewhat of a side effect that they know of. But when you're experimenting, and they're using everyone as a guinea pig.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we probably really won't know the side effects until, I guess, 5 years,
Until
10
it's too
years from
late.
now?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's just too late by then.
Yeah. Well,
So yeah, it's tough here.
yes. So we'll go out of the physical world a bit and we'll get into your dreams and meditations where you have had some very powerful occurrences happen. So
Mm.
where do you want to start with that?
Oh. I think I will start from being a child, because I
Okay.
think that is kind of important, because I do think that's more shaped and molded me to who I've become, obviously. But yeah, I was having these dreams that felt very real and vivid from a very, very young age. So, um, I had mentioned before, I was always that independent kid. I would get up really early, and I'd go off. Sorry, I should tell you about the place where I grew up, by the way. It's a suburb called Armidale, it was actually voted in 2021 as the shittiest suburb in WA. So every year, I think they pick a suburb in all of the states of Australia, and ours was picked as Armidale. So my mum still lives there, by the way. So yeah, she's still. And when we first moved there, it was the only house, and everything else was just vacant land. So we
Wow.
were literally the only people living in this house. So it is the bush area, not so much now because of all of the development, but we had a valley, creeks, a lot of bushland. So I had lots of fun as a kid. I was getting on the bike and meeting neighbors from a few blocks down, and just I was quite an adventurous kid, and I was the youngest of four, so I think I probably got away with a lot as well. You Looking at how my elder siblings grew, I think I kind of worked out a way of being that independent person where I'd get told off a lot, but
An
didn't really care
explorer.
so much. I was an explorer. Yeah, I think so. I don't know if I'd call it that, but yeah, I was definitely a tomboy growing up. And anyway, so yeah, I would venture off, and yeah, my dad, he was in the military, so he was very disciplined. He was always very structured, and I remember my brother coming to find me one day, out of all of the other days, but this one in particular, I remember this, and he says to me, "Esther, you got to get home. You got to get home because Dad is fuming." Because I'd always get home before sunset, and it was just before dinner, so I would always get a beating because I would spend all day, just you wouldn't know my location. We didn't have mobiles, anything like that. So obviously I sent him crazy. And just this one moment, I remember, my brother came, said, "You got to get home." And I was with a group of my friends, and they were really concerned. They were like, "Oh, we'll come with you, Esther, because, this happens all the time." And so it was really quite funny. I remember it. I remember walking down the street, and my dad's like 6'2", and he just looked so much bigger than the house. And he was standing there with a cigarette in his hand, one hand on the hip. I could see him with this big grin, shaking his head. And there's me with the posse of kids going down the street. And I just looked at him, and he said, "Get inside." And yeah, I remember one of the other kids going, "Oh, hi, Mr. Mortimer." And he said, "Get home, would ya?" Yeah, he was just that kind of man. He was just and after that day, I can't recall him ever giving me a beating. I think he just gave up. I think he was just like, "I think I know she's always gonna come home." So, you know,
You wore him out.
so yeah. So yeah, I always had that, desire to explore and travel, and that was all I ever wanted to do as a kid. And as I got to my teens, it was, yeah, as soon as I'm old enough and I'm making enough money, I'm gonna go travel. And, I think I was doing it as I was sleeping. I think I must have, made it work in my mind. And I guess the first experience I remember was, it's a really weird experience. I don't know if you've ever experienced this type of astral travel. I don't know if it's astral travel, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not too sure if it's astral travel or lucid dreaming. And yeah, you kind of feel as if your body's frozen, and I'd hear a whisper or I'd hear a noise. There'd be some sort of machinery or, but yeah, I'd always get whispers. It might sound as if I'm schizophrenic or something like that, but yeah, there's always whispers.
Well, when you were
And,
sleeping?
When I was sleeping, but I could hear them, so I could feel as if there was somebody near my ear
Did it wake you up?
whispering things. No, sometimes. It does. As I got older, it would wake me up.
Wow.
Like, not long ago, I actually heard a whisper, and it started tickling my ear, but I could hear somebody whispering, and I woke up. And when I do that, it's really bizarre, it's around 3:30.
I knew you were gonna say 3.
Yeah, the witching hour.
What is it?
The witching hour,
What
3
is it? The
AM?
witch
Yeah, you're not familiar
Is
with the
it?
witching
What
hour? Yeah, that's
I
when
knew she was gonna say 3 o'clock.
that's when all the occultist stuff is going on. It's called the witching hour. You should look into it.
Yeah.
Am I being, is something happening to me at that time?
Well,
Should be
I don't
freaked
know.
out?
Let's hear the rest of the story.
So that's just apparently when the spirit world is closest to the physical world at that time, and it's somehow they can communicate closer. That's why it's the
Easier.
witching hour. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's the earthbound spirits that are still here, at least, are trying to communicate with you for some reason. Doesn't mean that's a bad thing. They could be coming to you for assistance or maybe to help you. So who knows?
Okay.
But yeah, that's doesn't surprise me the time that you said.
Yeah.
Ah. Yeah, the first one I recall, and I always have this type of dream. It's always set in a cave. And I can feel the moisture in the air, the coldness, and I can also smell moss. And that's the first time I can recall that specifically because, yeah, I will never forget that dream. And I'm inside a cave, and it looks like a cave. There's a door, and the door has your typical tight window with the bars on it. And I'm on my own, but I can't see my physical body. I just feel as if it's just my mind. And there's this man that comes to the door, and he says, "I'm getting you out," and he gets me out. And I keep turning back around because there's other doors, and I keep saying, "Oh, I've got to get the other people," but I don't really know what other people there are. And he says, "There's not enough time," and he keeps dragging me out, but I keep trying to get back for some reason. And I don't know what's chasing us. We can't see it. Well, I can't see it. But we eventually get out of this cave area where there's all these doors, and then we're climbing through all these rocks, and we can see a crevice up the top, so we're on a slant, and we're trying to crawl out, and the rocks are falling beneath us, and I can actually feel the rocks underneath me, but it doesn't hurt. You can just feel that there's something there. So what
Wow.
would probably feel like, and I've landed on a pile of rocks, what would feel like rocks, it's not that. It's you feel that there's some sort of texture there. And so eventually we get through the crevice, and then there's just light, and there's people walking around in fancy outfits, just walking around, and we are in rags. Like, I don't know if I'm in rags, but I can tell he's in rags, and people are just walking past us like we don't exist. And
Wow.
that's pretty much the end.
Is that a recurring dream?
Being in a cave, yes, but different scenarios. So sometimes I'm the one saving somebody else.
Wow,
And I
this
feel as
sounds.
if that I
Sounds
meet
No, go ahead.
so I feel as I meet the same people, but they look different. But
Wow.
I
So
can tell
this
it's the same person.
this sounds like it's actually another dimension that you're in, and you're stuck there, and others are stuck there, and it's
or you're traveling back there at least.
yeah, you're going there to try to like this sounds like a real life thing is actually happening when you go to sleep. You're feeling all these textures, you're smelling smells, you're seeing different people in different ways. This is really incredible. I want to bring up my dream the other night because this was the most vivid dream I've ever had. It was very strange. I was at my parents' house, but nobody else was there. It was just me, but I was sitting out front, and the way that everything was set up, like my address was 11, and then there next to me was 13, and then there was like some kind of divider, like a room divider type thing was like I don't know, it bridged it together. So then like the next house over was like 67 and then the one next to that was 69. It was very strange. It was like they didn't belong together, but they got pushed together. And my work truck that I use now was parked across the street from where I was sitting. I was sitting on my front steps and the uh so the ramp that you go down the ramp from the back of the truck, it was just out. And then some guy came out of the house that was from 69 and he had a chainsaw and he was trying to saw off the ramp. And I was just like, who is this guy? I was like, yo, what are you doing? And nobody else was around. And like, I went to go call the cops. Then all of a sudden I was standing at the back of the truck. So it's no longer that I was on the steps across the street, but I was standing at the back of the truck watching him try to use the chainsaw and it wasn't working. And then all of a sudden I was like, I'm calling the cops, and I didn't have a cell phone. So I had to go in the house. But when I started going to my house, he went in his house. I call the cops and I'm like, yeah, this guy, is trying to use a chainsaw to break my truck, the ramp. And the cop goes, no, he's not. And I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean? No, he's not. I'm like, yeah, I just saw him. And then I go to the window and I'm on a cord phone too. It has a cord. It's not even cordless. So I think like no technology exists when we actually go to sleep the way that we have it today, because you can't manipulate the air in the same way. So, and I go back to the window and I see that the truck is gone. And I tell the cop, I'm like, my truck's gone. Someone stole it. And he goes, no, they didn't. And I'm like, what are you talking? Like, I'm looking right now. Like, the police station is around the corner from my parents' house too. And I'm like, I'm looking and it's not there. And then I woke up, but when I woke up, it was very vivid. It was only 2:00 in the morning, and I had gone to sleep at like 11 o'clock at night, and it felt like I slept a very long time. And I could very distinctly remember what this guy looked like. He had on a blue sleeveless shirt. He looked like trailer trash. Like he had a long hair, but it looked all greasy. He had on big round glasses. He had like a tattoo with a heart on it that said like mom or something on his one arm. He was just like not a healthy looking person, a lot of stubble on his face. But if I ever saw this person, I would know who it is. Like I have that burned into my memory. And I think it had to do with me delivering news to my parents or my mother that I did the next day, that it was trying to be stopped. And the truck being stolen, there was a very weird thing that I don't want to get into, because if I say it on here, then they're just going to do it again to my own vehicle. So I don't want my personal vehicle being messed with anymore by whoever did it. But there was this, I'll just say it anyway. There was this patch of my car that looked like someone took a Slim Jim, one of those things to break into a vehicle, when I got back from work the next day. Very noticeable. I took pictures of it because there was an indent. The rubber that the window is up against, it was pushed down. And I mean, it was right where you would use a Slim Jim at. And it was so noticeable that I would have noticed it before. And I only noticed it when I got back from work. The day that I talked, that same day I had the dream, and the day that I talked about my alien abduction scenario with the military and so on and so forth, that released on Thursday morning. So all this happened all at the same day, and it was very weird. It was God speaking to me through my dream, telling me what's going on, what's about to happen, and just a lot of weird stuff that occurs. But that was the most vivid dream I ever had. I never understood lucid dreaming before. Not that I didn't understand it, but I never experienced it. And when I experienced that, like, I very much felt like I was in control. Like, oh, I'm going to call the cops on you, dude. And I don't know why, but we had no cell phones. There was no cordless phone. And then the cop kept telling me, no, that's not happening. And I'm like, I'm watching it happen. What do you mean it's not happening? Like, send somebody out here. It was very much like I was trapped somewhere, and I was being misled to where I actually was.
Yeah,
It's weird. I want to get back to your dream. Did you speak with Corby about this? Did you speak? Well, I heard your episode with Corby.
I didn't know how I wanted to go with sharing my experiences. I preferred to just listen to other people. Like I said, WA is very isolated. It's very different to.
I feel like she would have an answer for you on that one, being as people were in different dress than you when you came out of that cave and everything. I feel like she'd be able to pick up on that.
No, I never thought to ask her anything about it. But I was just thinking about with Todd's dream, the time that actually something happened from a dream. That, because I do have a lot of dreams where I feel like I'm on another planet, in another dimension. There are times when I have dreams about a current situation. So if I'm going through a problem, I'm often dream about those things, and I get an answer from it. But the one time that I remember, the first time I remember having a dream and something happened afterwards, was when my grandma passed. And I was 16 at the time, and I was sleeping, and obviously, and the way that my bed was set up was the foot of the bed was right in front of the door, and it's just dark, and I can see through the outlining of the door light, and I can hear banging, like really loud thumping. And I'm not scared or anything. I just looking at the door, and then it opens really fast, but it doesn't hit the wall or anything like that. And it's my grandma, and she's talking to me in gibberish. I can't understand what she's saying, and I'm going, Grandma, what? Nana, what? What are you talking about? And she kind of chuckles, and she closes the door, and then I can kind of feel myself trying to wake my body. Have you ever experienced when you're trying to force your body up and you're trying to open your eyes, but you can't open your eyes?
I've never experienced that, no.
Oh, damn. Well, it's an awful feeling because you're trying to lift your eyes, but something is holding them down. And then I can hear knocking, and I'm sitting up in my bed, open my eyes, and my mum is standing there, and she's crying. She says, Nana's dead. I just got the call.
Hmm.
And I was freaked out. I just didn't know how to respond. And my mum questioned that after everything. She said, "You were really numb after that. Why were you acting that way?" Because my mum's very superstitious and she's very, so she knew something wasn't right because I was very quiet the whole time and I didn't really show any emotion until the day of the funeral. I had to do a reading and I bawled out. I just started crying. But I had to tell her, I said, "I actually dreamed that Nana came and visited me and then you opened the door and you told me she was dead." So I didn't really know what to think of it. And my mum just started to cry again. She's just like, "Yes, I believe you. I think it's true." And
Wow.
yeah, because I remember we all had to go to her house. And I was just really quiet all the way in the car thinking, wow, did I just dream that she had passed?
I'm
Yeah, it's
wondering
fine.
if you were the only one in the family that had a dream like that night. I feel like maybe somebody else had that dream too. Maybe not your mom, but maybe one
Maybe
of
they
your
don't even
siblings.
know it.
Maybe they don't even remember or didn't even, maybe they don't know you had that dream, so they didn't know, to speak of it.
Yeah,
But I feel
maybe.
like there's more than just you that had that dream that she visited before she went.
Yeah, I know. Don't really ever talk about it with the family, except for my mum.
Right.
And yeah, so
Maybe ask
I don't know. I don't
around.
know what to think. I'll ask her
Yeah.
around for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's an incredible thing that she was speaking gibberish makes me think that either you weren't allowed to hear what she was saying or that she was speaking the language of
Right.
the angels,
We're so excited.
and you were
Mhm.
still, because you're still earthbound, because you're still physically alive, that you still only spoke the language that you spoke, and you didn't understand the language of the angels, and that's why she was giggling that you didn't understand.
Yeah. I mean, well, I couldn't really understand it when she was around, to be honest.
Oh,
I
okay.
She
always
was
had to
probably in a frantic, excited kind of state, but I really do feel, and I don't even force this kind of thing when I talk, that you're not the only one she came to that day, that night. That I would ask around.
If anyone, I think maybe my brother, because my brother and I, we
Let me
always
know. I'm curious now. And I've
see what
never
he
had any
says.
trouble like waking myself up in a dream. Sometimes I always try to go back into a dream. Like you wake up and you're like, "Oh, I want to get back in there. I want to finish the story." Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Wow.
So,
So
yeah.
no, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say, yeah, that's, those are the 2 experiences that I can remember as a child, and then, yeah, as I got older, um, yeah, it would have been in my 20s, and I started to notice it a lot more, and really enjoyed going to bed at night. The dreams wouldn't always be the nicest, like, I might have, being in a cave and being locked up and someone coming out to get me might sound a little bit like a nightmare, but it never feels like a nightmare, the dreams that appear to be, negative or in some way the ones when trying to save people, it never feels like a nightmare, is what I'm trying to get at.
That sounds
And then
good.
there's some really nice dreams too, where I dream that I'm on other planets, and like I said, I can't tell what body I'm in, but I see other beings and what they look like. So I
What do they look
I was
like?
gonna
in the
say, tell
dream,
us
I
about
don't think.
that.
Um,
You seem like
it's
you don't
really
want to.
bizarre. Sometimes because, I try not to do it too much in case, I don't wanna influence other people's experiences, but that's fine. I'm happy to share. So, uh, the recent one that I remember is being on another planet, and it's weird. I feel like I'm creating a movie in my own mind. I feel as if I've gotten that good at it. and it's now become my own film, my own movie that I'm directing.
Wow.
I don't have any control over what happens. It's a bizarre feeling. I don't have the right words to describe it, so I'm probably not sounding very articulate. But yeah, I basically zoom into this planet. It looks like Earth, but I can tell it's not because of the continents. And I basically just drop down really fast, and then it just looks like desert. And it's not like the WA deserts either that I've been to. It's it just, I can't explain. It just, I know that I'm not in Australia. I'm not in WA, and I'm flying, and there's there's someone flying with me. I can just see the silhouette, and we fly in together into this city, and it just looks like a normal city, and people are walking around and they're blue, and they're quite large too. So everybody seems to be, I guess, maybe like 8 foot, very tall. I can tell that they're tall. Even though I might be tall too, I can still tell that we are big for the type of being that we are. And we're all wearing the same type of outfit, maybe just a little different in design, but it's the same color. And we have logos too. So we're all wearing these brands on us. And I'm in a bar talking to this guy, and I can't tell if he's my lover or a friend, but I think it's the same guy that is usually in my dreams. And we're at a bar, and then all of a sudden there's an explosion. And I remember there being bricks and pieces of cement just landing on top of me. Again, you can feel the pressure of it on your body, but it doesn't feel as if you've got a bit of concrete on top of you. And I take it all off, push it all off, and I'm trying to find him. I'm trying to find my friend. And I see him, he's got his arm out, and I pull his arm out, as in with him, his whole body. And everyone's cut up. Everyone appears to be bleeding, or what happened. And then we look up, and there's this massive spaceship that's just beaming, shooting these beams down onto the city. And then I remember just running with everybody. And yeah, there's a group of military people that we all run behind, and then they start shooting at them. But then there's this final hit that just takes us all out. And yeah, so we're blue people, very big. We've got eyes and nose that all look normal. If anything, our lips are really big. And yeah, that's probably the best way to describe it.
Wow,
it's not the first time I've had experience.
That's interesting. Have you ever seen depictions of Osiris or Krishna or any beings when they're depicted as being blue, any of the Hindu gods?
No, but it's funny that you say that, because I went to a sound bath not long ago, and the experience I had was of blue people again that were wearing yellow, and they gave me that. I felt as if they had some sort of Hindu. They had a Hindu vibe to them, but they had tattoos on them. They had black tattoos that looked a little Native American, to be honest. Couldn't see their faces, so the women. So there was 4 women and 2 men, and the women were wearing actually the men were too. They were wearing a cloth over their face, and I could only see their eyes, and their eyes were white with obviously the darkness of their eyes. So I could just see the whites of their eyes. And I'm lying down, and I've got the 2 females, 2 on each side, and one of the males at the foot and one of the males at the head. And they are wearing, like I said, yellow gown that looks Indian-like. And they're rapidly taking things out of my body. So their hands are like moving really, really fast, and they're doing something to my body. I feel safe with them. I don't feel as if they're doing anything bad, but that's one of the
Sounds like
experiences I had recently. The sound
sounds
bath.
like maybe Atlantis or something. I mean, it could be just a completely other different thing. It's a very fascinating thing that you're talking about here. So if any listeners out there have any similar experiences, I love to hear about it, and maybe we could piece the puzzle together a little bit to see, what can line up with this.
Can you describe the logo?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Can you describe the logo?
It's so bizarre because I see this logo all the time, and I mentioned it to a colleague of mine, and she looked it up, and it looks like it's a logo for a vehicle. So it's kind of, I'm going to draw it for you. It's a German vehicle, which is really weird, but it looks like this. This is probably not the best drawing. Actually, I'm going to do it again because it's not the best.
No worries.
That'd be me. I'm like, nah, that's not it.
Do you know the company name of this logo?
Oh, what is it called? And I'm so bad with names.
Well, maybe when I say it, I'll be able to help. I don't know.
This isn't the best drawing.
Wow.
The stripes are a lot smaller, but that here is definitely, it looks like an eye, and it's like the Sonic Hedgehog.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow, that's very interesting.
And what color were these outfits?
German car company.
Everyone had the same color outfit. So what color was the outfit and what color was the logo?
Again, it's blue, and the logo is black, from what I recall. Yeah, but the color of the uniform is definitely similar to the complexion of our skins, so it's very blue, very.
Is it a very physical place?
What is that movie though?
When you say physical,
so like, are the skin of these people and yourself, are you like transparent, kind of like you're seeing through people, or you just see just blue skin?
Yeah, I can see blue skin.
Okay. Well, like Skeeter from
And even when I held
from Doug, remember
when
Doug
I
Funny?
held
Probably not.
Yeah,
What's
it's an
that?
It's an American cartoon from back in
Like
the
she
day.
probably doesn't know who that is.
But when I grabbed his hand, when I pulled him out of the rubble, the hand was really big and was cold.
Wow,
that
that's interesting.
for sure.
Yeah, so I say Skeeter because his hair was similar to that, and he was blue. So it's this cartoon called Doug. It was Doug Funny with Patty Mayonnaise was his girlfriend, and Skeeter was his blue friend who had that type of like wavy hair. And my mom used to call me Skeeter all the time when I was a kid. So it was just an interesting little thing.
I'm gonna look it up.
Or are they like the beings from Avatar?
They do remind me a lot of Avatar.
Yeah, because they have tattoos as well, like Native American looking tattoos on them.
You know, and that's the thing too, is and I had mentioned that too. I don't know if it is something that you've seen before, and are you creating it? Are you being influenced by something? Which is why I try not to research it when it comes to spirituality, because I don't want to start Googling something and then find out, all this bad stuff and go, wow, I've come from somewhere bad, or, I'm dreaming about demonic things. Because, you just don't know. And I don't want it to influence the way that I perceive things, whatever it is or whatever I've created. I always feel comfortable. And there's just always this scenarios are always about saving or being saved. And I have ones about going to places, so traveling. I had one before I went to Nepal, was trying to find a place to travel to, and I had a dream about being on a mountain and being on a cliff, and I keep waking up in different places on this mountain. And shortly afterwards, my friend asked me if I wanted to see a documentary called Sherpa, and yeah, I was like, this is the place I'm going to go to. I'm going to go to Nepal. So I feel as if I look at the signs and connect the dots. And that's how I've always been, just going with the flow of things.
That's perfect.
So yeah.
That's how it should be. So my final question about your dreams is, are you ever in like warfare where you're battling someone? Because it seems like you said, you're saving or being saved. Are you fighting in some sort of sense?
Yeah, and it's interesting that you mentioned Atlantis, because I feel like everybody seems to have dreams about Atlantis. But yeah, I've had a dream about being underwater. I have had a dream about being in war as well, in combat, but I feel as if it's today, as in the modern
Modern day.
world. It's not in another country, another planet. But with the dream that I've had about underwater, I actually have the weapons of, I guess, I don't know what you call them. What do you call them? These big fork things.
Oh, the pitchfork things, like the
trident.
The trident. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we've got something like that. It doesn't look exactly like that. And I'm again with a male, which makes me feel as if I'm usually a female in my dreams. And I hope that doesn't offend anyone, but I just feel as if, I just feel as if I might be a female most of the time. And it's so bizarre, this dream that I had, where we're in this city and everything's white and gold, and there's an elevator, and we go into this elevator and it takes us down, and when it opens up, all this water just comes in, and we're not scared or anything. It's as if we are, we're prepared for going underwater. And we get out, and then there's this coach, like this, it looks a bit like the Roman style coaches that they had in the gladiator days. And we get on that, and what is the animal that is pulling us along is this massive whale, but it doesn't look like an ordinary whale. It's got different types of features on its head, but we know it's a whale. And we actually, there's actually seats in it, so we're not standing. It's set up as if we're in a seat, and we have these belts that are made out of gold, and we buckle ourselves in.
Wow.
And we look up, and there is just crowds of people looking down at us like a gladiator style, and they're cheering us, and there's this massive, like, mega shark that we have to fight. And we pretty much, battling this whale. And I can feel the ripples of water every time the shark just misses us. I can feel the ripples of water, the vibrations, all of that. But we end up defeating it. And what I remember, and this is probably not so much scary, but you know how sometimes people feel as if they're dying in their sleep?
Okay.
I think maybe this is what they feel, possibly. But when we do defeat it, because I end up unbuckling myself. This is a long story short. I end up unbuckling myself after the shark has been stabbed repeatedly, and I sink to the bottom, but I'm standing on the ground, the bottom of where we're at, and I look up, and the shark actually falls on top of me. And I'm lying on the ground with this heavy bit of this massive mega shark on top of me. And I can actually feel it in my sleep. So I can feel pressure on my chest. I can still breathe, but I feel the pressure on my chest, and I'm trying to push it off. And I can tell that I'm trying to push something off in my sleep when I'm trying to open my eyes.
Wow. This is impressive stuff that you have a very strong connection to the other side. I mean, this is really impressive.
Yeah. Yeah. The one in combat, the one when I am in some sort of war, I feel as if I'm in Syria for some reason, just because of the people there. So I don't know if it's Damascus. I've never been to Damascus, but I think I see a sign or some sort of there's this picture that's on the ground, and I don't know why I relate it to that. And yeah, I remember getting shot at and shooting back at people and being tackled to the ground and someone with a knife, and I get stabbed, but I don't feel the pain. You don't feel the pain. It's yeah, it's weird. I can feel the knife going into my stomach, but I can't feel the pain.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I could be someone lying in their sleep, holding her hand and, making maybe having kind of like sleepwalking. I'm not sure. But
Wow,
whatever
yeah.
it is, it's
Oh, I
real.
think you're doing more than
Yeah,
sleepwalking.
astral travel, lucid dreaming, spiritual warfare. I think you're whatever someone wants to call it. I think it's all of the above. I think that you are very connected to the other side. There is only one other side. There's many ways to get there, and there's many different things we call it. But I think that you are very in tune with it, and you have been your entire life. That's incredible.
Well, I don't really know what the reason is behind it, the purpose is behind these dreams. I know that when I am experiencing a situation where maybe it's a work situation and I've had dreams, like maybe sand, like there's sand all over in my office, and I can feel the grains of sand underneath my feet. And I relate that to just feeling suffocated and maybe change a job, things like that, and I find that it's helpful. But the ones where I'm on different planets, I don't know how that's
You don't know how to decipher
happening.
those.
That's just some of your travels.
So yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, no. I enjoy dreaming, like I said. I don't have I've not ever had a dream where I've felt scared. I think I'd mentioned the one where I had the dream about being in a concentration camp. I might have mentioned that briefly to you before,
No, I don't
and I didn't know
remember
how to
that.
feel. So I'm in a camp, and there's a female that I'm with, and she is obsessed with me. She loves me. She's confessed how much she
Oh,
loves
you
me.
did tell me this. Okay.
Yeah. And
And
she
you're a
looks
female.
yes, I'm 100% sure I'm a female in this one. And she looks like an elderly woman. She's not too old, but definitely older than what I feel I am in the dream. And I can describe her too as she's blonde and yeah, she's fairly attractive for a woman. And she tells me that well, I actually know she's actually an alien. And and she says to me, I want to help you escape, but you need to know that I love you, and I always have, and I want to be with you. And she basically offers herself. She says, "Will you have sex with me?" And I say, "No, I'm not interested. It's not not my style." And then she says, "Well, I'm going to help you anyway because this is how much I love you." And so she helps me escape, and I find a really good route. She helps me as well, and she helps me put like bombs, traps. I don't even know how to do this stuff. It's really weird. I don't know if it has anything to do with my dad being, his life, his world. But yeah, we're putting traps and digging holes and so yeah, I go back to the camp and round everybody up, and we sneak out, find a way of sneaking out.
Wow.
And she stays there. She stays there.
She just stays in the Nazi camp?
Yeah.
And this was World War
I don't
II?
I don't know if it's a Nazi camp. I don't think it
Oh,
is.
She's
so it could be a
helping you
future
escape.
concentration
She's
camp.
sounds like she's working with the camp and you're just a prisoner
Yeah.
in the camp. Okay, so she stays because that's where she
Right.
has to stay.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's actually wearing what the guards are wearing. So
Mhm.
yeah, she's
Interesting.
Yeah,
inside.
so this sounds when you said a white woman with blonde hair, you're describing that. I'm starting to think Nordics, which the Nordic aliens, I don't know if you're familiar with them. I think that they are just fallen angels and they're called many different things all over the place, but the and especially if she's working there and she's trying to have sex with you and she feels alien to you, but she looks human, it sounds to me like it would be a fallen angel that is there to guard you, but for whatever reason, she's helping you out. That is
Mm.
that is very very
Interesting.
fascinating. Does it seem like a future scenario or does it
It
feel
does.
current?
It feels future.
Like not
It
too
feels
far in the future?
no, it feels far, far into the
Uh,
future. It's definitely a different world.
Okay. Well, it could have been the past was very different than what
Well,
we
I
think it
think
was, you know. What the way mainstream history tells us we came from like caves, that we were cavemen. I think that's baloney. I think it was like a golden era at that, and the fallen angels came down here and imprisoned the humans. So it sounds like maybe that was something that you experienced before, or I don't know how time actually works, but something to that effect.
I feel like she
Mhm.
has an ability to travel to different dimensions slash timelines, all at once and at
Yeah.
different times at the same time. But I feel like you have this ability that you should oh, well, you can't help it. It's going to keep happening to you anyway. So
That's
you'll
amazing.
get the hang of it. Yeah, you'll remember more and
I keep trying
yeah.
to tell myself grab something and see if I can take it back, but I forget to do
Oh,
Oh.
it all the
wow.
That sounds like a movie.
Yeah, you bring something back with you. You bring it back to the physical reality. That would be
Trippy.
spectacular. Yeah, if that happens, you got to come back on and tell me all about that.
Yeah, it's weird. I before I go to sleep, I tell myself, grab something, take something back with you, and I forget every single time.
Yeah.
Sometimes if that's one thing to say grab something, but if you focus on something and maybe you'll see it later on that week somewhere, like you'll focus on a necklace or a piece of paper or a sign, you might see that
Yeah,
in
that's a good
within the
point.
next week in your actual world.
Yeah,
Mhm.
in physical reality.
And then you'll be like, wow, that really happened to me.
Yes. Yep.
Wow. This has
Very
been
interesting.
Yeah, this has been such an amazing conversation, and you thought you didn't have anything to talk about.
I like talking about dreams. That I can talk
Yeah,
about all
I
day.
knew this was going to be a great conversation. I can't wait for everyone to hear it and just see what everyone thinks because I'm very fascinated with all of this, and I'm sure my audience is as well. So last question going out here is,
Mhm.
what is your go-to grounding technique in this dream world that we live in? How do you stay grounded as a human?
I wish I had an answer for you. It's I've when you say this as well, do you mean inside the dream or do you mean
No, no,
outside of the
no.
dream?
Like when you're waking life.
I would have to say meditation would definitely keep me grounded. I try to do it every single day, every morning. So I get up early anyway. So when I usually wake up at around the 3 o'clock, 3:30 time, I can usually fall back to sleep, but I'm normally up around about 4:30 anyway. And so in that time I'll meditate before I go to work and there will be some weekends as well where I'll just try to meditate for long periods of time to help me be grounded. Um, yeah, so that's pretty much how I've I don't know, I guess it was maybe a few years ago now that I found meditation and just started to love it. I love that feeling of just not thinking anymore. and just sends you off to an amazing place where you just start seeing images and different faces, people. I don't know if they're spirits, they could be, and yeah, just taking me somewhere where I haven't been before. So maybe I'm also projecting my body when I meditate. I had said that, yeah, it was sometimes I spend about 6 hours a day. I'll stop and start, but yeah, I love it so much. I just love escaping, and it's probably become stronger since being stuck in WA.
I was gonna
So
say you can't go anywhere else, so you might as well.
Yeah. And yeah, I think that there's a lot of self-awareness that goes into that as well. So I tend to write things down. It's stuff that I've experienced in these types of sessions. And I question it. How does it make me feel? Why does it make me feel like that? Yeah, and I try to connect it in some way to everyday life. And usually I can, but some things are really unexplained. And yeah, so yeah, definitely meditation keeps me grounded.
All right. Well, there we have it. Can you let the audience know where they can find you and your wonderful podcast?
They can find me on Spotify, Google, or Spotify, Google. Where else can they find me? Yeah, that's about it. Oh, and I've got my own RSS feed. So yeah, I'm not one for Facebook, Instagram, and social media. I
What
got rid
about
of that.
Telegram? You said you're on Telegram. Can they find you on there?
Yeah, I guess you can find me on Telegram. So yeah, so the podcast is called the 963 Universal Frequency, and yeah. Oh, also Apple. So Apple and Google Podcast and Spotify. And I am still fairly new to all of this. You probably can tell.
Yeah. Well, I think that I think you should go around being a guest on other people's podcasts and talk about these dreams. I think that you may find some answers
Yeah,
in
people have
different people that different mediums or whatever psychics, people that deal with that stuff on a regular basis. That may be something that you could explore, because these are very fascinating dreams, especially the amount of like physical things that occur. Like you said, you feel yourself stepping on rocks. You feel the pressure on your chest when this shark is on you. I mean, this is an incredible ability you have. You spend a lot of time meditating. Uh, I think that you should go around talking about your experiences, because I think they're much more fascinating than you give yourself credit for, and that you have much more knowledge than you give yourself credit for. I think that you are very well versed in the other side, and you could really bring light to a lot of different people with all your experiences.
Right, and you'll be surprised to find people that have had similar experiences with similar beings of similar color or similar areas. You'll start to find that as you talk to more people. They'll be like, hey, wait, I saw that too. Let's talk about this. So you'll get a lot of puzzle pieces.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, I'll start embracing it a bit more and sharing my story. I would like to actually speak to somebody that specializes in dreams. So if there is anyone out there that does specialize in dreams, contact me.
Yeah.
Yes, send me an email.
Do you want to give out your email address?
Yeah, so it's the THE 963 Universal Frequency at hotmail.com.
All right, and I will of course have that in the description. So if anyone out there can help interpret dreams, I mean, hit her up. Contact me if you need to. I'll get in touch with her. We want to help out Esther here. She had me on her podcast. She is a very gracious host, and she's brand new, but I feel very much she is going to be helping the world. And she already is helping the world in the blueprint world, the astral realm. She's already doing a lot of work there. And I think that maybe she needs a little recognition in the physical reality.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Todd. Thank you for your kind words, and thank you, Mimi, too, for having me.
Thank you. And if you talk to your brother and he tells you anything about your grandma, I want you to contact Todd and let me know.
Yeah, no, we'll do. We'll do.
All right, so we'll say goodbye to our audience. Goodbye, everybody. We will talk to you later.
Bye-bye.